We begin today the Gemara towards the bottom of Nun Amud Beis, about 8-9 lines up from the bottom of the Yamud, where it says Tanan. So the Gemara here brought the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel regarding the damage that happens in a boir. What's the ikar reason the Torah was mechayev for the damage in a boir? The whole chiyuv of the damage in a boir is a chiddush because the boir doesn't belong to you. So the Torah is mechayev for the damage. Rav says the ikar is the hevel, the air, the fumes that there is in the boir. That's the main reason for the chiyuv. Shmuel says no, the ikar reason for the chiyuv is the chabata, the bang, the impact that happens when the animal falls into the boir. So the Gemara brings from the Mishnah here that in the beginning, further up on the Amud, that will be a question over here on this machlokes. Tanan, so the Mishnah said, Hoi pchusim asarat tfachim, the boir is not 10 tfachim deep. An donkey fall in, umeis and dies, potter. So because it's not deep enough, you potter. But vim huzak boy, if it was only damage, then chayiv. It's not deep enough to cause that it should die, but it's deep enough that it can cause damage, so for that you are responsible. Oh, so if it falls in and it dies, so you'll be potter. So what's the reason to make a distinction as far as the depth of the boir is concerned? My timer, the only way to explain this distinction, the difference in depth, as far as the hevel is concerned, there shouldn't be a difference. The only difference is the impact. If it's deeper, then it has a stronger bang, a stronger impact. So this proves that what Shmuel said, that the main... this is actually a shaila on both. I don't think this is a shaila only on Shmuel. You see over here that Yechayev only for the chabata. Because even Shmuel said before that Yechayev for the hevel and also for the chabata, for both. But over here in the Mishnah you see that the chiyuv, the difference between 10 tvachim and less than 10 tvachim is because with less than 10 there's no chabata. So that's the only chiyuv. Says the Gemara, loy, that's not the pshat in our Mishnah. Mishum the less pehavla. The less deep it is, the less fumes, the less hevel there is that causes the animal to get damaged. But if that's the case, if the issue over here is that there's less hevel, so im huzak by chayiv, when the Mishnah says, but when it dies you're going to be potter, but if it gets damaged you're going to be chayiv, but less pay havla. You're telling me that there's no havla in that depth. The way the Gemara is understanding this now is that only in a certain depth you have those negative fumes, but if you don't have that depth, then there's no hevel at all. It's not like an impact. Impact, when there's a bang, you can be mechalik 10 tvachim. There's a stronger impact. 9 there's less. That's understood that there's different degrees. But l'chayda regarding the hevel, so either there is hevel or there isn't hevel. So the Gemara says no, it doesn't work like that. Omri, they explained, ein havlo lemise. When the boir is not 10 tvachim, so there's not enough hevel to cause that the animal should not die. Should die, that is. But v'yesh havel in nizakim. But there's enough hevel in the boir which could cause the animal to be damaged. Okay, I'm not going to go into the whole Yin Barichas again, but I explained already yesterday what the Rishonim say, that the concept of hevel is that the animal is in a place which is dark and there's fumes there, which causes the animal when it falls in, that it can't position itself to fall upright to save itself from being damaged or die. That's the concept of hevel. So there's different degrees of this hevel as well, when an animal falls in. Says the Gemara the following story. There was an ox that fell into a water canal that's made to irrigate the fields. And so the owner took it out, shachtei, and he took out the animal and he shechted this animal. Shachtei more, that is. The owner of the animal shechted it. Tarfei Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman came and said that this animal is treif. Once it fell into this water canal, it must have gotten damaged to the point that it's treif. Okay, now Rashi explains, we'll see this in the continuation of the Gemara, how deep is this water canal? This water canal in Lashon Kodesh is called an Amma Samayim. Amma Samayim, why is it called Amma Samayim? Because an Amma, it was wide an Amma and deep an Amma. What's the depth of an Amma? Each Amma is 6 tvachim, which means it fell into this animal, fell into this water canal, which is only deep 6 tvachim. And because of this, Rav Nachman said that the animal got damaged to such a degree that it can't live for 12 months, and therefore it's treif. So now Amar Rav Nachman said, Ishakal Marid Ahai Tura Kabed Kimcha. If this owner of this ox would spend a little money and buy himself some flour, so he should have some food to eat, and then V'azal Tanabim Medrasha, so he'll have some food and take a vacation and go to learn the Bis Medrash. Then he would learn the following halacha. If after you took it out from this fall, and you see that he could live for 24 hours, so then you know that the impact wasn't so bad, and it's not a treifa. But you have to wait all that 24-hour period to be able to ascertain that. And he didn't wait. So but if he would have learned, then he would have known this halacha. He wouldn't lose now his ox that he shechted and now his treif, which is worth much more. It's worth kamakabi, much more than that little flour that he should have bought for himself and gone to learn Torah. But the Gemara now says, what do we see from this story? So we see Rav Nachman holds, that when there's an impact, it can cause the animal to become a treif, even though it fell into this canal, which is only 6 tvachim deep, less than 10 tvachim. So Rav asks Rav Nachman, but the Mishnah clearly said, if it's less than 10 tvachim and it falls in, so you'll be potter. My time, what's the pshat in the Mishnah? Lav mishum delespe chabata. Isn't the pshat because when it falls into that depth, there's no impact that it could become a treifa, can't die, can't become a treifa. So Rav Nachman answers, no, that's not the pshat. Loi mishum delespe havla. In our Mishnah, like we said before, according to Rav, or even according to Shmuel as well, the reason is because it doesn't have, it's so shallow, it doesn't have that depth of 10 tvachim, it doesn't have the hevel, the fumes. That's the issue. It will become a treifa because of the chabata, and therefore it's going to be asa to eat. But as far as the owner of this, or not the owner, the one that dug the bird to be chayiv for it, he's chayiv only if there's the fumes over here. And if it doesn't have that depth, then it doesn't have the hevel. That's why the Mishnah said you potter. So regarding bar you potter, but regarding the animal itself, it got that chabata. True, it got it from karka ilam, so the balabayr is potter, but it got that chabata, so therefore it's going to be treif. So says the Gemara again, the same question I asked before. If you're telling me that if it's only 6 tvachim deep, it doesn't have this hevel, so huzak boy chayev, why does the Mishnah say that if it was damaged, yar chayev, holes be havla? If it's not 10 tvachim deep, there's no hevel. Amalei ain't hevel emisa. It doesn't have hevel that will cause the animal to die, but v'yesh hevel nizakim. But it does have enough hevel to cause it to be damaged. So the same shot like we said before in the Mishnah. Another question on Rav Nachman. So again, the point you see over here is that even if you fall into a depth that's just 6 tvachim deep, it can cause the animal to die or to become a treifa. So the question was asked on Rav Nachman when it comes to giving a person skila. So from how high of a rooftop do you throw him down by this skila? Beis skila shtei kaimis. So the place where the bezin threw the person down from was high shtei kaimis, 2 heights of a person, two floors. And Vitani Allah, then on that the Braisa adds v'kaimis shaloi. When they threw him down, he was standing. So you have also the height of this person himself that they threw down, and then he falls and he bangs his head. So that's Harekan Shalish. So it's really 3 heights of the height of a person, and that's from how tall of a place they throw him down. Well, the question is, why does it have to be from so high? If you're going to say like Rav Nachman just said, yesh chabata b'pachis miyud, that the impact could cause the person to die or the animal to die, even if it's less than 10 tvachim, lama likula high. Why is it necessary to have such a high place that they're throwing him down from? So the Gemara says, this is not a question only on Rav Nachman. According to you, you're asking a question from here on Rav Nachman. Ask b'chlal, navadasara. Why do you have to have three heights of a person? You can just throw him down from 10 tvachim, which is much less than that. Even if you're going to say not less than 10, but from 10 tvachim it should be enough. Ella, the reason is why they made it so high is Rav Nachman, like something else that Rav Nachman said. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Baravu, Amar Kra, the Torah says, V'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. You have to love your fellow like yourself. And what this means is, even a yid, it's chayiv skila, but you have to throw him down from a higher place so that if he's dying, he should die immediately. He shouldn't be with any suffering. Not from a lower place where he'll die also, but it's not going to be as quick. So therefore, applies here as well. That's why it's from a higher place. In fact, the Gemara, if that's the case, maybe should be higher even than 2 floors and then his height as well. It should be even higher so that he should die even quicker. Answers the Gemara, no. That's also because mishum de minvel. If he falls from too high, then his body is going to splatter, and it's also a hepech his honor. So therefore, we throw him. The Chazal will mishayir. This is the height, 2 kaimis plus the kaim of the person. But Eisvei, another question was asked on Rav Nachman that says that even if you fall from a height that's not 10 tvachim, you could still die. You can still become a treifem. So this is by the halacha of the mitzvah of putting a makkah, a gate, a fence around your roof. So it says in the pasuk, why ki yipol ha'neifel mimenu, so that a person should not fall from the roof onto the ground. So what do we learn from this? Mimenu, the reason to put up this fence is because you may fall from the roof down into the street. But v'loi b'toichai, you don't have to put a fence to block that someone shouldn't fall from outside into your rooftop. What does that mean? Haka, someone falling onto your rooftop. Keitzat, haisar shusarabim gevayim imena sarat vachim. The Rishus Harabim is on a high hill. And then your house is built right there near the Rishus Harabim going down at the bottom of the hill. So then someone can fall from the street down into your rooftop, which is lower down. For that you're going to be potter. You don't have to put up a fence for that. That's where the pasuk yipol ha'neifel mimenu, only mimenu, not if someone falls from the street into your house. But hamukah mimenu asarat tvachim, when do you have to put a fence on your roof? If the street is lower, is deeper down than 10 tvachim than from your house, from your rooftop, and v'nafel metoichai l'toicha, and someone fell from your rooftop into the street, then chayiv. For that you're chayiv. That's where you have to put up the fence to block that a person shouldn't fall down.
The roof to the roof, or the roof?
No, the roof to the street, into the Rishus Harabim.
The Rishus Harabim is high 10
That's one case. Then there's another case where the rooftop is 10 tvachim higher than the Rishus Harabim. So in such a case, that's when you chayiv to put up the fence. So now, what's the question on Rav Nachman? If you're going to say that there's a chabata, there's the impact. And here Rav Nachman said the animal becomes a treifa, even if it falls from less than 10 tvachim. So lamali yasara. Why are we saying that the chiv to put up a fence on your rooftop is only if the rooftop is 10 tvachim high? Should be even less than that. Amalei, so I answered him, shani bayis. A house is different. So the chiyuv that the Torah says to put up a fence on your roof is if it's a house. It's a house, people live there, and then on the rooftop you have to put up a fence. But if you have a structure that's less than 10 tvachim, it's not called a house. And therefore, even though, if people go on top of this, you can fall, and there's a chabata, you could get, you can become a treifa by the animal from this, but nevertheless, it's not a bias. Over here the Torah wasn't mechayiv to put up a fence. Yachi, fragt the Gemara, if that's the issue over here, that it's not a bias, so that should be measured by the interior of the house to see if there's 10 tvachim inside. Yachi, hashtanami, tehavim avroi asarem. So he's saying that when you have the 10 tvachim on top of the roof, and that's when it's a bias, but dalmine tikra maziva, if you deduct from this height of 10 tvachim, the actual roof itself, the plaster, the different whatever layers there are in the roof itself, so then so inside the house, it's not 10 tvachim high. What you're saying is that according to Rav Nachman, as far as the impact, if you fall is concerned, it doesn't have to be 10 tvachim high. The height of 10 tvachim is also, it should be a bias. So if so, 10 tvachim should not be high enough, because then the interior is not 10 tvachim high. You deduct the width or the thickness of the roof, it's not 10 tvachim high inside. So you answer, no, going to chakme. Now inside, so he dug into the ground, and therefore inside there is 10 tvachim high. And then you have on the roof 10 tvachim, so even though you deduct that thickness of the roof itself, but he dug inside the ground, inside the house, so it is 10 tvachim high in the house. But the Gemara says, but if that's the case, you come back to the original question. Even if the height of the roof is not 10 tvachim, you should still be chayv to put up a fence. Because like Rav Nachman said, even if it falls from a place which is not 10 tvachim high, the chabata will cause it to die or to become a treifa. And are you going to say that it's not a bias? But mishkachas lo dahav megavoya sarika going to chakpat itfei. So he just has to dig into the ground inside the house deeper. So it is going to be 10 tvachim inside the house. And on the outside, even if it's not 10 tvachim high, you should still be chayiv according to Rav Nachman. So because of this question, the Gemara retracts its understanding of what Rav Nachman said, and it gives a different hezber. Elo, haina taina the time of Rav Nachman. The reason for Rav Nachman is different. Not like we said before that Rav Nachman holds that an impact less than 10 tvachim could cause death, and the only reason why the Bala Bayer is potter is because there's no hevel. No, the hezber is different. So Rav Nachman holds as follows. Similar to the point that we said before regarding skila. So what did it say before in the Braise? That when the person is thrown down from the rooftop, he's thrown down standing. So because he's thrown down standing, so it's not only shtei kaimis, you have to measure the height of the person himself. And if he falls down and he bangs his head on the ground, so he's falling from a height of his own kaima as well. His own height as well has to be measured. It's the same thing with an animal. So Rav Nachman holds, Mikreisa de Tura la'ara, if the animal is standing near this bar, and then in the standing position, it falls into this bar. So if you measure from the kreisa of the tuda, from the stomach of the sacks to the ground, from where and then how it fell in, kama hava, how much is the height from the top of the body of the ox, and then when it falls into the pit. So the height of the ox itself is arba. It's 4 tvachim. So harisa de daloi, and then this canal, this water canal that the ox fell in over there, kama hava, how deep is it? Shita. It's 6 tvachim, as I mentioned. Amma is 6 tvachim. So ha'asada. So together, the height of the ox itself, it's because it fell in from a standing position and it fell into this canal, which is 6 tvachim. So together, it fell, and the impact is from a height of 10 tvachim. So therefore, you do have 10 tvachim. That the impact is 10 tvachim. So hello, masnisin the ketani, the Mishnah that says ma baisha kedei laham is yud tvachim av kol sheyesh ba kedei laham is yud tvachim. So our Mishnah said that a bar has to be 10 tvachim deep in order that you should be high for the impact that happens here. But over here we're saying that it doesn't have to be 10 tvachim deep, because over here we're saying that you have to measure also the height of the animal itself. That adds to the impact when it falls in. So b'shita namisag, it should be enough to be, that boy should be even enough if it's just 6 tvachim deep. So Amri, so they answered, Masnisen the igander labayr. In the Mishnah, what it's saying is, if the animal is not standing, if the animal is lying and it's rolling and it rolls into the bar, so you can't count the height of the animal itself. So there you have just the depth of the bar, and then it has to be 10 tvachim. So from this Gemara, the conclusion of this Gemara, it seems like that the depth of a bird to be chayiv for Misa, it doesn't have to be 10 tvachim deep, only 6 tvachim deep. But there's a big machlekes rishonim about this. Some say that in the end of the day, this was all, Rav Nachman all said this regarding treifa. And that's a chumrah regarding the behemoth that was shechted. Regarding treifa, we're machmer that we combine the height of the animal itself and the depth of the bird to say that it has an impact, that it could become a treifa. But when you get to the chiyuv of bird, rishonim say that still you would be potter unless it actually has a depth of 10 tvachim. Sagt the Heilige Mishnah, bar shel shnei shutfim, a bar that's owned by partners. Now, overall of a rishain, v'lo kisol. So the first partner was using it, and then he went away, and he didn't cover this bar that's in the property here. V'hasheni v'lo kisol. Again, v'hasheni v'lo kisol hasheni. And now the second one used this bar, and the second person didn't cover. So again, V'hasheni v'lo kisol, that is, the second person used the bayit and he didn't cover it, then hasheni chayiv. It's the second person that's going to be chayiv. So we'll see in the Gemara what it's talking about. Rashi over here brings one pshat that the Gemara says the first person, when he finished using the bayit, so he gave it over. The second person was using it, and he didn't just walk away. If this first person stam walks away, then he's going to be responsible. But the second person was using it after him. So the fact that the first person didn't cover it, he's not going to be responsible. The second person will be responsible. Omri, so now the first thing over here was said to explain what does it mean a bar owned by partners? How is this bar owned by partners? Bar shnei shutvin, heichi mishkachas lo. What's the example for this? This could be explained according to Rabbi Akiva's opinion, which we had before in the Gemara. The Amar Rabbi Akiva says, "Bar b'reshusay chayiv." If you dig a bar in your reshus and then you mafka the area around, so then people could walk there and people could end up falling into your bar, you chayiv for that. So mishkachas labachatz shel shnei. So the case over here is that this is a property that's owned by partners, and there's a bar that's dug there, so the bar is owned by these partners. Ubar shel shnei. So the bar belongs to both of them as well. Ve'ifkiru rishusan. They were mafka the rishus around the bar. V'lo ifkiru bayna. They were not mafka the bar itself, and they're chayiv for this. Rabbi Akiva holds in such a case you're chayiv. But if we're going to hold like the other opinion, which was brought before, which was Rabbi Shmuel, according to one interpretation, Rabbi Shmuel holds, when you dig a bar in your rishus and then you mafka the area around, you potter for any damage that happens, because you could say to the people around, listen, I was mafka this area, but still, if you're coming here, it's going to be your responsibility to watch what's going on over here. So you potter for this. So what's the case of the bar that's owned by two shutvin? So again, the chayiv aleh. So how is it? How is the case over here that Yechayiv and Rishus Harabim both? You have two shutfin over here. So how do you have this bar of two shutfin in Rishus Harabim? Says the Gemara. Now, if you're going to say the case is either shav or shliach, so maybe there were two people that went and appointed someone to be their shliach to go and dig a bar in the Rishus Harabim. So he's a shliach for two people. So therefore, this is considered to be a bar of partners. The Shavuot shliach tavai v'amr le'zil karilon, go and dig the bar v'azav v'karilo, and he dug the bar for them. But the Gemara says that can't be the case because we know the rule is ein shliach ledvar aveda. There's no concept of shlichus for a dvar aveda. If you're going and telling someone to dig a bar in a shus rabin, which is a iser, it's a dvar aveda. There's no concept of shlichus of that. Why Rashi brings a famous expression? The Gemara says divrei arav, divrei atalmud, divrei mishaymin. It's the responsibility of the shliach that he did it for himself. You can't blame the mishalech. It's not related back to the mishalech. Okay, so that can't be the case. Now, if you're going to say the case over here is simple. How do you have a bar of two partners? Well, the bar has to be 10 tvachim deep. So two people dug, each one dug half of it. If you're going to say the case is the kara, hay chamisha, one person dug 5 tvachim, and hay chamisha, the other person dug the other 5 tvachim, that's not a bar of partners. Why not? Because nistalka lahu ma'aserishin. In such a case, the first person that dug 5 tvachim, that can't cause any death in it. The second person comes along and digs another 5 tvachim. He now gave the depth of the bar that animal that falls in can die. So now this bar is totally the second person's bar. The first person's myself 5 tvachim is gone. So it's also not a bar of partners. Now here the Gemara actually says it depends. It depends what happened for an animal that fell into the bar. Did the animal die? Did the animal get only injured in the bar? So now it will depend. Now the Gemara brings Hanicha l'Rebbe. We could answer that this is a bar of partners according to Rabbi Ulinizakin. If whatever fall in, if an animal that fell in over here got injured, so mishkachaslo. So then, if one person digs 5 and the other person digs another 5, this is considered to be a bar of partners. The Gemara is soon going to bring over here the source of exactly what Rabbi said. Now Rabbi says it's only regarding an injury. Then we say that this is considered to be a bar of partners, and they're both liable over here. Elo Rabbi, but even according to Rabbi, Rabbi only said that regarding something that fell in and got injured. But ulemisa, according to Rabbi, if what fell in died over there, so then only the second person that brought it to the depth of 10 that causes the death is liable. Not the first person is not liable at all for that. And according to the Rabbanan, bein lemisa, bein lenizakin. The Rabbanan hold if one person dug 5, the second person dug 5, doesn't matter the animal that fell in, whether it got injured, whether it died, only the second person is chayiv for this. So the question still remains, how is this a bar of partners? Rabbi Yechanan says, you had a bar that was 9 tvachim deep, and there was one more layer of earth that has to be removed to bring it to 10, and two people together they removed that last layer of earth, and they brought it to 10 tvachim. So it was done together. So that's the bar of partners. They both together brought it to be 10 tvachim. Now here the Gemara brings the source of this machlokes of Rabbi and the Rabbanon regarding this situation, where one person dug 5 tvachim, the second person dug another 5 tvachim, so who's chayiv? My Rabbi or my Rabbanon, where is the machlokes of Rabbi and Rabbanon regarding two people that dug this bar? This was brought already earlier in the Masechta as well. The Tanya and Abraisa we learned, Echad ha'chayfa bar tisha tvachim, tisha that is. One person dug a bar 9 tvachim deep. Uba acher, a second person comes along, ve'eshlim ala asara, and he digs that last tefach, which is 10 tvachim, ha'achrin chayiv. Only the last person that brought it to 10 tvachim. So he's the one that made it the bar. The bar now is his bar. 9 tvachim can cause a damage, cause an injury, but it can't cause death. Once you dig it in 10 tvachim, now you bring it to the level of being a bar that causes death, it's your bar. So the second person's chayiv. Rabbi says, well, it depends. If regarding what falls in and dies in it, so then we say that relates to the second person that brought it to the depth of 10. Because only by 10 could it die. But if what fell in only got injured, so that the first one that dug it to the depth of 9, it's also going to be his bar. Because when he dug it 9 causes the injury. So now the other person dug it at 10. So yeah, he made it deeper, so it causes more of an injury. So both of them are going to be responsible for the injury here. Okay, so what Rebbe says makes a lot of sense. In such a case, they're both participating in the digging of this bar that causes the injury. So the Gemara explains, my time at the Rabbanan. What's the reason for the Rabbanan? Why did the Rabbanan say that once the second person dug that 10th tefach, so for anything, both injury or death, it's the second person's bar? Because the Makra, the Pasuk says as follows: Ki yiftach v'chi yichre. When the Pasuk speaks about a bar, it talks about two cases: when you open a bar, uncover, or you dig the bar. So the question is, as the Gemara already asked before, Imal psicha chayav akriya lekol shekain. If you chayav for just uncovering a bar, for sure you chayav for digging the bar. Why does the Torah have to say both? Elo, what it's coming to say is lahavi kaire acha kaire. When one person digs and he didn't dig fully, he only dug 9, and then the second person comes and digs the 10th tefach. So what the pasuk over here is saying is shesilik ma'aser rishain, that when the second person digs and brings it to its full depth of 10, he's the one that's chayiv. So even though it said already ki yiftach, it's saying ki yichre, that the one that digs that extra tefach, you sort of now become the possessed. The bar now is yours because you brought it to the ultimate depth that brings the death. So even though you can say that regarding nizakin, still the first person has a participation in the depth of this bar, but no, once you bring the bar to that full depth, now it becomes yours completely. That's what you see here. That's why it said ki yichre in the pasuk. But Rabbi Yamalach, why doesn't Rabbi learn out from here the same thing? Rabbi will tell you, no, that's not what we learn from the lashon of ki yiftach and ki yifre. Hanu mitzrach tzrichi. We already said this was brought before regarding the double lashon ki yiftach, ki yichre, that it's extra. We already explained before why it has to say both. We had it before in the previous daf. So there's no you can't learn out from there this halacha that the last person will be chayiv. Rabbanan, so the Gemara asks, if so, according to the Rabbanan, nami mitzrach tzrichi. We already explained before in the previous daf why the Torah had to write both ki yiftach and ki yichre. So we can't learn out from this extra ki yichre that only the last person will be chayiv. Therefore, the Gemara says, "Elahaina time at the Rabbanan." We have a different source for the Rabbanan. Why the only one person can be chayiv, and that's the last person. Because Amakra, the Torah says ki yichre ishpar. It uses the term ish, an extra word. If the man digs a bar, why is it using this word ish? Echad v'lo shnayim. That in a bar, if 2 people participated in digging the bar, only one of them is going to be chayiv and not 2. And it's the second person. The Gemara is soon going to say why the second and not the first, but it's the second person that dug it, that extra tefach, he's going to be the one chayiv. But Rabbi says, no, we don't learn it. We can't learn out from this extra word ish, because there's something else we learn from there. If a man digs a bar, if you allow your ox to dig a bar, then you're not going to be chayiv for that. That's what we learn from there. It's a different limud. How did the Rabbanan learn out this halacha that only one person's chayiv? If you have to dashen that the shur that digs, you'll not be chayiv for that. Today, ishbar ksiv, but it says it twice in the Torah because it says chiyiftach ishbar, and then it says oikiyichra ishbar. So it says twice ish. So we have 2 sources, 2 different limodim. But Rabbi will say no. You can't learn out from twice that it says ish, because I did the chas of high. Once it says the word ish, when it says ki yiftach, so it says it again by ki yichra, but it's not a separate limud. So therefore they can both be chayiv. If it's an injury that's caused by one digging 9 and the other one digging the 10th, they're both going to be chayiv. Okay, but now the Gemara asks, according to the Rabbanon that say that the last person is chayiv, but how do you know the last? From the pasuk I see that one is chayiv. Maybe it's the first. It's an injury. They both participated in digging the depth of the bar that causes the injury. So how do you know the l'chiyuv basra that we're being mechayiv the last person? The l'chiyuv kama, maybe we should be mechayiv the first person that did the 9 tvachim. Says the Gemara, no, loisal kedaitach, you can't say this because the Makra, the pasuk there in the end says v'hameisi eloi, that the mace belongs to him. So what do we see from here? Hu de ka'avid mise. Since it says in the pasuk of v'hameisi eloi, what it's saying is the one that dug that 10th tefach, which not changes the nature of this bar. It becomes a bar that can cause not only injury but can cause death. That's the one that is responsible for anything that happens to the bar, whether injury, whether death. Because the Titus finishes off with the word V'amesi Eloi, that indicates which one person is chayiv for what happens in this bar. Only the achrein, the last person. This V'amesi Eloi, that's what you learn out from here. We learn out something else. We need that pasuk V'amesi Eloi to teach us the chiddush that Rava said. Rava said, Shar Psulei HaMukdashim. A shar that's from pasal hektish. What does it mean, pasal hektish? Rashi says, let's say like a bachar that got a mum and it can't be brought on a mizbeach, or pasal hektish that got already redeemed from hektish. So it's such a kind of a behemah, shenafel a bird that fell into a bird, potter. You're going to be potter for the damages that happened. If it died, you're potter. Shenela, because the pasuk says, va'ameis yi eloi, b'mi sha'ameis shaloi. When are you chayiv? Only if the mace is yours. But over here, by this psulei hamikdashin, the mace is not yours, even after it's puzzle, but still, you can't use it for whatever you want. It's not yours. That's the halacha over here by psulei hamikdashin. So therefore, over here, you're not going to be chayiv for this. Rashi explains this is a unique chiddush specifically by Bayer. If it's a shar that's hektish mamish, so then you potter by all nezikin that we had earlier in the Masechta. You learn shar eyu and not shar shel hektish. Over here, the chiddush by Bayer is even if it's psulei hamikdashin, still you're going to be potter if it falls into the bar. So you learn out from Vamesi Yeloi a different limud. How could the Gemara be saying that you learn out from here that the Achrain, that dog the 10th tefach, he's the one that's going to be chayiv? So Amri, they answered that you can learn out both. Valav memela shamit mina. Isn't it automatic that you could learn this point as well? The Bahuda Ovid Misa Askinon. True, when the Torah writes Vamesi Yeloi, it's coming to teach you the Allah of Ravid that for Psulei HaMikdash you potter. But from the context of the pasuk, it's automatically understood that it's the one that causes the misa to happen in the bar, the one that dug the 10th tefach. That's the one person that is responsible for the death and the injury. The whole bar now becomes his bar because he changed the nature of the bar. He brought it to the level that it can cause misa. He's the only one that's going to be chayiv. Taner Rabbanan and Abraisa, we learned one person dug the bar 10 tvachim deep, the other person dug it another 10. Now it's 20 tvachim deep. A third person came along and dug another 10. Now it's 30 tvachim deep. So this Braisa says they're all together going to be chayiv for this. Now, but I'll ask you a contradiction to this Braisa. Another Braisa says, person digs the bar 10 tvachim deep. Now, another person comes along, we see it, and he plasters this bar, or vikiyid, or he paints pictures in this bar. So ha'achrin chayiv, the last one is going to be chayiv. Now Rashi explains what is that last person adding by putting plaster or pictures in it. What happens is by plastering it and so on, he's making the bar narrower. By the narrower the bar is, the animal that falls in, the more hevel there is, there's less maneuvering room, and it's darker in this bar. The more hevel there is, and causes the animal to die. So over here in this brayse, it says that the achrin is chayiv. So it's a contradiction. The previous brayse said that you have one person that make dog at 10, the other 20, 30, they're all chayiv together. Here it says that the last one that added and caused more hevel, he's the one that's chayiv. Says the Gemara, so we have a simple solution for this. Leimel ha Rebbe and Harabanan. We have the opinion of Rebbe. So Rebbe says before that when you have one that dug at 9, the other one dug at 10, so they're like partners. They're all chayiv in this. And the other one is the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan says that no, once the last person dug 10, so now he's the one that's going to be chayiv and no one else. So maybe we could say the two braises over here, one is Rebbe and one's the Rabbanan. So the Gemara here has two interpretations for these two braises, and it's no, we don't have to say one is Rabbi, one is Rabbanan. Omer Rav Zvid says, no, hava ha Rabbanan, both of these braises here are the Rabbanan. Now, at kan leikam Rabbanan achron chayev, this that we learned before, that the Rabbanan learned out from the pasuk v'hamesi Eloi, that the last one that dug the 10th tefach, it now becomes his bar, and he's chayev. Ela heichaduli Bava Kama shir misa. That's over there in the case that the Rabbanan was speaking about is the first person dug a bird of 9, which can't cause any death. And now the last person, he changed the nature of the bird. He now brought it to the level that it can cause death. Then I say, based on the limit of the pasuk v'hamesi Eloi, that now the bird is attributed to the second person. He's the one that changed the whole nature of the bird that it can cause death. The case of the Braisa here though was that the first person already dug it to the depth of 10. So it already could cause death. So the second person brought it to 20 and another person to 30. He's not changing the nature of the bird. So Rabbanan will be made the kol chayavin, that they're all going to be chayiv over here for the death that happens when an animal falls in. And v'ha sayid v'kayid, and then the other brayso where it says that the person came and plastered it or made pictures in it and he narrowed the depth of the bar, the Bava Kama shir misa. Over there, the case is, one second. So over there, the case is that the first person made a bar, which is a shir misa. So the Gemara is asking if he's saying that this is the opinion of the Rabbanan, that as long as the first person already dug the bar, that it could cause death. So then, if the second person is adding to the depth of the bar, they're both together going to be chayiv. So if so, the same thing by the case where the second person came and added plaster. So the first person, the Bava Kama shir misa, the first person already dug the bar deep enough that it can cause death. The katani achron chayiv, and still when the second person comes and adds plaster, you're still saying that only the achron is chayiv. Why? According to the Rabbanan, he should be made in this case that they're both chayiv. So Amri, they explained, no, Hasam Shleihaya by Hevel Misa. The case in this Braisa is that the bar, the way the first person dug it, was wide enough that the Hevel in the bar, the fumes in the bar wasn't bad enough to cause death. The second person that added plaster into the bar, he narrowed the size of the bar, and that causes more fumes. That's what causes less maneuvering room, and that's why he's the one that changed the nature of the bar that it can cause death. So the second person's chayiv. This is one pshat. Iked others say that the pshat over here is the Amar of Zvid. Rav Zvid said the opposite is true. Ha v'ha Rebbe. Both of these brises go according to Rebbe, and Rebbe says that when it comes to Nizakin, so then there is a shutfis in the one that dug 9, the one that dug the 10. Both are going to be chayiv. So the brise that says that one dug 10, the second one brought it to 20, and then 30, they're all partners together, they're all chayiv. That's exactly like Rebbe's opinion, that they're all partners. When it says over here, when the person came and added plaster, and only the last person is chayiv, this bar was wide enough. The way the first person dug it, it was wide enough that it wouldn't cause not death and not any injury either. And the other person, when he came and added plaster into the bar, he narrowed it so much that because of his plaster, and now he calls it should be hevel bein lemisa or bein lenisaken. So therefore, only the second person's chayiv, because he's the one that causes the whole thing. His narrowing of the bar causes both the possibility of death and nizikin. So here, Rabbi says that the last person's chayiv. Omar Rava says also similar. Another thing over here, when you have one person that dug and another person comes and adds to the depth of this bar. So over here we're talking about a second person that comes and adds, not by digging the bar a tefach deeper, but he adds to the depth of the bar by placing a rock outside the bar, which makes now the bar higher. Someone that falls into the bar will stand over the rock and then fall into the bar. That's how it became deeper. That brought it to the depth of 10. So Rava says it's the same machlokes that we had before between Rabbi and the Rabbanan. Bano machlokes, Rabbi v'Rabbanan. Just like we said before regarding one that dug 9 and the other one dug a 10th. That there's a machlokes Rabbi and the Rabbanan who we attribute this the damage in this bar to. The same thing over here when you put a rock outside the bar, and so now it's higher, and therefore there's depth. It's the same machlokes. So the Gemara says, Pshita, isn't that obvious? Why would I think this is any difference if it's you dug deeper or you put a rock outside the bar? And says the Gemara, no, I would think to say, if a second person comes along and digs it one tefach deeper, it's inside the bar. And inside the bar, over there, it causes more fumes by making it deeper. But if you're just adding a rock, and so therefore the one that's going to fall in steps over the rock and then falls in, that's what created the height. So you're not adding fumes to the bar. So maybe I would say that over here, the second person that added the depth of the bar by adding height, so he's not adding fumes, so maybe you should not be chayiv for this. And the machlekes of Rebbe and Rabbanan does not apply here. Kamash Malon, that's why he's saying that no, in this case as well, by adding the height, the second person will be chayiv. Rav asks the Shaila, what happened in the case of Tom Tefach V'Silik Avonov? What happens if, again, we're all talking about the same case over here, where one person dug the bar 9 tefachim. Now the second person came and dug the bar the 10th tefach. So he dug the 10th tefach, he'll be chayiv. Whether he'll be chayiv for the misa or for the nizakim, but he's chayiv because he dug the 10th tefach. But what happens now, this person that dug the 10th tefach, he now filled back in that 10th tefach. Now it's 9 tefachim again, like the first person dug it. Or, like the case we just said before, he added a rock over there outside and it made it higher, but now he took away his rock. Somehow, what's going to be the halacha? Now, the Rishonim here say this is a shayla according to the Chachamim only. So, Mia Merina, do we say, my Da'avid, the 10th tefach that he dug, or that rock that he added there, shakle. So, even though by putting that 10th tefach, or that is digging that 10th tefach, or putting that rock there, it now becomes your bar. You change the nature of the bar, so it becomes your bar. But whatever you did, you now removed. So, therefore, now it's not your bar anymore. It goes back to the first guy. He dug the 9 tefachim. Oidilme or no, nistalku ma'aser. Once you dug that 10th tefach, or you put that rock there, so now what the first person did there is gone. You not changed the nature of the bar, it became your bar. And once it becomes your bar, the Kamal should say it's completely your bar, and even if you remove that rock or you fill it back in, it doesn't change. Once it's your bar, it's your bar. Teiko. That's not answered. If you have a bird that's 8 tvachim deep, and from these 8 tvachim, 2 of it is water, chayiv. You're going to be chayiv for this, even though it's not 10 tvachim deep. My time, why? Because kol tefach demaya, a tefach of water, is ketrei diyabasha. Dummy. The hevel, it's worse. The fact that you fall into a place where there's water, it's harder for an animal that falls into maneuver itself in this, and therefore it's like there's another 2 tvachim here, and therefore it'll be like it's 10 tvachim deep. So the question was asked, did he say this dafka by 8 tefachim or maybe not. Bar tisha. How about if it's a bar that's 9 tefachim? Umehen tefach echad mayim, and there's only 1 tefach here of water. Mahu. Do I apply the same concept and say mi amrin, and do I say kivin deloy nefishi maya les behavla? Maybe when do I say that water is equivalent like 2 tefachim and it'll be like 10 tefachim deep? That's if there's at least 2 tefachim of water. But if there's 1 tefach of water, so then there's no hevel. The fumes or the negativity of the environment. The hevel really more generally means the negative environment in the bar does not exist by just 1 tefach of water. That's too shallow. A similar shayla, the Gemara asks, bar shiva, if you have a bar that's only 7 tefachim deep, and of these 7 tefachim, you have 3 tefachim of water. Mahu, what do you say over here? So there's more water here, tfei, so is behavla. So the environment of the bar, that it's partially water, makes it even worse. And therefore, even 7 tefachim, it's like equivalent to 10 tefachim deep. Similar to what he said before regarding 8 tefachim, and you'll be chayiv for this. Because it's so shallow, it's only 7 tefachim, less behavla. No, so then you don't have that bad environment in the bar, and therefore you'll be potter. Take also remains unanswered. Again, this is going back to what we discussed before. When one person dug the bar, and he dug it 10 tefachim deep, but now the other person came and widened this bar. What's going to be the halacha here? And now someone fell into the bar. So do I say that the second person that widened it caused his death or not? Amalei. So he answered, Rav Shezi answered, why should the second person that widened it be chayiv? He only did something beneficial. He just minimized the bad environment, the fumes in the bar by making it wider. He only makes it better. Amalei. So they told Rav Shezi, how could you answer this? Adarabe, on the contrary, by making it wider, he actually is making the possibility of damage more possible. Because the wider the bayr is, if someone's walking in the Rishus Harabim, and now the bayr is wider in his direction, so it's mekarev the bayr to make it more probable that someone would fall in. So maybe the second person should be chayiv. So therefore the Gemara here gives 2 answers to this question. El Amar Rav Ashi said, Nechsi anan, let's see, Iba havle mayes, sareh miyat havle. If we could see that the cause of the death for what fell into the bar was by the bad environment in the bar, so we know that it's the hevel, so the second person is not responsible, because he didn't add to the hevel, Adarabe, he took away from the bad hevel of the bar. But if we see that it's the impact that caused the death, by widening the bar, you only made it more possible that someone should fall in. So you will be chayiv for that. The second person will be chayiv. Others say the way to analyze this is actually different. You have to see more specifically if it's the second person that caused it. Because what Rav Ashi said is, let's see from which side the animal that fell in, from which side did he fall in? If from that side where you widened the bar it fell in, so then you dug it in that direction, so you made it closer for this animal to fall in it. So you're chayiv. If the animal falls in from the other side, so then it's nothing to do with you. It fell in anyways from the other side. So by you broadening the bar, you just made less hevel in the bar. Okay, let's learn just one more piece over here. Itmer. What happens if you have a bar that its depth and its width is the same? So maybe in such a case, a bar that's wide and deep, the same amount, so maybe this can't damage. So Rabbi and Rav Yosef Domri Tarvayu, they both said, and now this was said Mishmei de Rabbi Bar Bachone, the Oma Mishmei de Rav Mani, that said in the name of Rav Mani, and that there was a machlokes here between Rabbi and Rav Yosef. What was said? Chadama, one of them said, Lo'olam yesh by hevel. When it comes to the fumes, the bad environment in the bar, you always have the hevel in the bar that causes damage. Unless the width of the bar is more than the depth of the bar. So that means if the width and the depth are equal, there's still bad fumes in the bar. Another opinion was, Lo'olam ein ba hevel. There is no hevel in the bar until the depth is more than the width of the bar. Okay, so over here you have the machlokes if the depth and the width is equal, whether there's bad fumes in the bar or not.